Hello, coaches. My name is Alan Means with Head Coach Academy. At Head Coach Academy, we provide free live webinars covering the most crucial executive aspects of head coaching, which include planning and organization, leadership and culture, and money and people. The following video excerpt is taken from a full presentation that was previously recorded. Please enjoy this webinar.
The next thing that is players that fit your coaching style. And I'm going to talk a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily have to be your personality or anything else. It's how yourself. Like, for example, if I'm a football coach and I like to run the football, and being able to understand what type of running game you're going to have, or in the baseball end, which I'm a lot more familiar with, is, we like to have guys that can run. Speed is a very, very big component with us. We think that's an intangible that if you go out to the park day in and day out, that you're always going to have, and we're trying to find the best athletes that we possibly can. Now, that being said, I think that you have to find key skills that you're looking for, but you understand that you're not going to get all those, 5 stars or 4 stars. I mean, speed might be the first thing that we look for, and then we're looking, okay, he might not be as good as hitter, but we can take him because of the speed. And you have to understand what your needs and wants are there. Meaning, if I already have 4 or 5 guys in my lineup that run, necessarily I don't possibly need another guy. So I might want another guy, but I'm not going to go that road. I'm going to take more of a hitter now, because, I feel like I have enough speed in there. I think what a lot of guys do is sometimes they start taking players that maybe that they think they need. An example, and we'll get into this a little bit later, is taking, 6 shortstops that are, high-quality guys. And then it goes back to budget and everything else. But if you're taking those high-quality guys, where are you going to put them? Is there a need for that guy? Is there a need for 3 3-hole hitters in there? That's your decision. And what I've found out is and we'll talk about this too, is just about roles and doing different things there. So the next thing you have to worry about is the skill level. How many superstars you can have, versus walk-ons versus all these different things. I think what a lot of people, get a little bit too focused on a little bit too much is that they want, these superstars at all times. And there's not many programs that can take that many superstars. So what I look at a lot is, okay, we have 2 or 3 guys that we feel that are, our go-to, our impact guys. Now we need to find guys that are going to hit in that 9-hole, going to be able to do the job and doing different things like that. And when you talk about it, those guys are your walk-ons. Your walk-ons are guys that you have to develop into being your role guys. Okay, these are guys that wanted to be part of your program, that you took the opportunity, that you have to be able to develop them. And one of the guys that is right here behind him in this picture here, Kyle Kemp, was a walk-on for us, that hopefully, will be a draft guy next year. I feel that he should be. And he was a guy that was from the city of Evansville that we took on, and he did a really good job of making himself better, and he's been a really good player for us. And he now is an impact guy that we have, that it was a walk-on, that has a high skill level, and then budget-wise that we were able to afford early, and now, now we're giving him, the scholarship that he needs, but at the same time, we didn't invest that for the full time. That's something that he's earned over time, and it's helped us get to where we need to be. If you can get good walk-ons and you can fit them into your coaching philosophy, okay, into your coaching style, then you're going to find out that your teams are going to be better. Because what's going to happen is the superstars of the world, okay, all these guys that come in, you only can have a couple of these. In each year that we've been really successful and that we've won it, I feel that our impact guys, the 2 or 3 guys that we had, understood their role, and to let these other guys or the walk-ons develop. I think the hardest job, around is like, coaching the Yankees or coaching, when you get out there, because you have so many different personalities. And for me personally, with my coaching style, I feel that I can handle 2 or 3 of those type of guys in my system. But being able to, to be having 15 or 20 of them, it gets pretty tough. So that's where I feel, this is, a big component to. The other thing that is involved in your coaching style is just how good that you can project players. Are they projectable? Do you see them, where do you see them at? And this is another, you can't take a bunch of these guys either, because then all of a sudden you have all these guys are projectable, and let's be honest, only a couple of those guys work out, at least in my world it does. I mean, I haven't been that successful where we can just keep projecting guys and they just keep developing them. But at the same time, you have to take 2 or 3 of these guys that you feel are projectable, and that can get to the level that you need them to be and to fit into your system. And then, the next thing is what I want to talk about is just your impact guys versus your role guys. Once you've done all this, in my opinion, within your coaching guy, you have your skill level guys. You got your walk-ons, okay? You have your couple impact or superstar guys, okay? And then you have a few guys that you've redshirted that are projectable, kind of like Kyle was here for us, and that are going to develop into hopefully a skill level, superstar guy in there. And then you have to be able to develop your impact guys and versus your role guys. And what's the difference? Well, your impact guys, to me, when you talk about baseball, is your 3 or 4 hole hitters, your starting pitchers. It might be your shortstop, and then your role guys are the, your 2-hole, your bottom of the order guys, the guys that are getting hit by pitches. Maybe you're a really good defensive player, but not very offensive. Those are guys that you have to combine and work as one. If you get able to get the impact guys versus the role guys, and you can combine them as one, that is what you're shooting for. I mean, when it all comes down to it, and this is what we're talking about next, is it's about your team's chemistry and defining roles. Your impact guys have to understand what their role is. If they're a 3-hole hitter, what you expect from them. Everybody's different. Our impact guy might be a pitcher. I thought this year we were a little bit more defensive than we were offensive. So our key guys were probably more on our pitching staff and within there. So, I mean, that was a big component. So, these are different things that you have to understand. The next thing I want to talk about is team chemistry and defining roles and how you do that within your team chemistry. I think the first thing that you have to do when you're meeting with your team is you have to set your goals. It's setting your goals, and your team chemistry and the roles are all dependent upon how you define your goals. And an example is every year when we come in, well, I shouldn't say every year. Well, this year when we came in, one of our goals, we hadn't made a conference tournament in 2 years, and our first goal was just getting in the conference tournament and understanding that that was our first goal, that we could move on regardless of, in 2010 that we did win a national championship, and that's where our end goal wanted to be. We really had to focus on what goal that we could attain right away and get to that point. Now, does that mean we didn't talk about, getting to Cary, North Carolina, or the World Series or anything like this? No, we talked about it, but we went over the steps. And by doing those steps, what I feel like what that's going to help you do, it's going to get your players to invest in your program. You are trying to get them to buy into what your goals are, okay? And I say your, meaning your team's goals. And those are things that you have to make sure that you develop within them. And how does that develop team chemistry? Well, that's going to develop team chemistry because everybody's on that same goal mission. How is it going to define roles, okay? Those are the things that we're looking at. It's going to define roles later as you get on by what your goals are, because then everybody's going to understand their role. The hard part is, as we all know, is 18 to 22-year-old kids, they're going to deviate sometimes. So how you handle it when they deviate from the goals and from the investment of the program and what they're doing, there's many different ways. The first thing that I do is, especially, it doesn't matter if it's an impact guy or a role guy or, it might be your redshirt guy. If you have things that they're not meeting their what you want, then what you do is you have to address it immediately. And me personally, I go ahead and make sure that I take him in my office the first time. I might be in the dugout personally and say, hey, we've been concentrating on, showing up at, 15 minutes early. You're always cutting it close. You're always sitting there cutting it close. What's going on? If it happens again, then it's maybe showing up in front of the team. But you always have to take to me, immediate action, so your players know, the other players know that, hey, if they deviate from your plan or the goals that are going on, that you're gonna make sure that you handle that, and that they have to get back on track. And then how does this happen? This happens by making sure that they're going to that they're going to be in the lineup. I mean, that's their punishment, I guess. And then I guess the next thing would just be how roles come into success. And the guy standing out there writing this picture, his name is Caleb Eichhoff, and he might be one of the best role guys that I've ever coached. Meaning when he came out of junior college, I mean, he was a backup guy for us, didn't play in the first 6 or 7 games here at USI, and ended up being our starting second baseman the whole time. And the reason is because he understood his role. And that just meaning that he knew when hitting in the 9-hole that he could get hit by pitches, make sack bunts, and play defense, and he'd be in the lineup every day. How did he know that role? I told him that was his role. That's what he had to do in order to stay in it. If you don't define the role specifically, and then if you deviate from it, then you're behind the 8 ball totally, because they're never going to buy into it. So you have to make sure that you define everybody's role, from your first hitter to your 9th hitter, or if you're in basketball, from the point guard to the postman, or whatever we're talking about. You got to define their role, and you got to be really specific. And when they do a good job, personally, if they do a good job in doing their role, but the team success isn't there, you have to make sure that you let them know that they are doing their part. Now we got to get this other part going on. Okay, and that's how you're going to get success. In my opinion, those things right there are the difference. And then when you're developing these roles, okay, when you're telling them, you have to be really specific. An example is, are you a speed guy? Are you a defensive guy? Et cetera. And what that means is how if they're going to be a speed guy and be a stolen base guy, you have to define that. You have to make sure that they understand what that is. And then the last thing is, in here with the chemistry and with the roles is just making sure, we went over this a little bit, is complement their success with roles. Meaning that when we win a baseball game, I talked about individual, but when we as a team win a baseball game, we go over how our closer came in and threw strikes, and that's part of our system. You have to throw strikes, or if a guy's coming off the bench and gets a pinch hit, that he's ready for that pinch hit, that he was mentally prepared. You have to make sure that you make note of these. Otherwise, sometimes we get involved with the guy that hit the home run or the guy that made the last shot. But what about all those things that led up to it that helped you with your success? I mean, those are things that are going to keep your team chemistry, and those are the things that are going to help your role players understand what they need to do.